for Veterans Broadband and Rural Development for Wednesday, April 8th is now in session, and a quorum is present. Folks got a lot of stuff to talk about today, so let's get straight to it. All the bills that we are hearing today will be laid over for possible inclusion. The first bill that we will hear is Senate File 3915, Wild Rice Water Pesticide Protection Provisions Modifications. Senator Kunesh, when you're ready. Mr. Roy and Mr. White, if you would please, you're welcome to come up and have a seat next to Senator Kunesh while she's talking.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for this hearing and members for listening. To begin, I have the A1 amendment.
Senator Kunesh moves the A1 amendment. To your amendment, Senator Kunesh.
This bill just changes some of the language within the bill that the physical, chemical, and biological characteristics that are necessary to support the growth of wild rice, whether presently supporting wild rice or reasonably expected to do so in the future. This amendment was created for a stronger and more clear definition of wild rice water. And as we work to help Manuman, which is wild rice, more waters could hold wild rice if we work to bring it back. We have also changed line 11 and line 7 to erase a jurisdiction issue based on MDA's feedback.
Thank you, Senator Kunesh. This sounds like it's sort of basic clarification issues. Members, any discussion of the A1 amendment?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, Senator Kunesh, is there any parties here that are opposed to the amendment or the definition that you described, or have you talked to any parties about that?
Senator Kunesh? Again, within the context of the amendment specifically.
To the amendment, I have not had any negative feedback, and as I said, lines 11 and 7 were erased after discussion with MDA.
Members, see no further discussion of the amendment. All in favor of the A1 amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The A1 amendment is adopted. Senator Kunesh to Senate File 3915 as amended, please.
Great. Members, 3915 is making adjustments to Minnesota's pesticide protection provisions to include the wild rice waters. Currently, wild rice is declining at a very rapid rate, and it is on its path towards becoming an endangered entity. Wild rice is available for tribal harvest off reservation in the Great Lakes region, and that has declined by 5 to 7% annually. This bill is aiming to protect our wild rice waters by increasing the research on the impact of pesticides on the environment, developing better management practices for pesticide distribution, storage, use, and disposal, and increasing collaboration with tribal government and local governments to protect public health. This legislation is a starting point to ensure that waters across our state remain pure enough to support this plant, which only needs clean water to thrive. Wild rice has been a food source for Minnesotans for generations, and it should continue to feed our state for generations to come if we only take care of it. That is my bill.
Thank you, Senator Kunesh. Members, for the sake of efficiency, we're going to hear from all the testifiers first, then open up questions to those testifiers and the author of the bill. So, Mr. Roy, if you would please state your full name for the record, commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Dustin Roy, and I'm the Divisional Director of White Earth Natural Resources, and I'm here to support Senate File 3915. For the Ojibwe people, wild rice, or monoman, is a relative. It is why our ancestors came to this region. It is our identity, our livelihood, and our traditional food source. Protecting monoman is protecting our past and our future. Wild rice is crucial for the health and well-being of our communities. As an example of the impact pesticides can have on wild rice, in 2021, White Earth discovered that Minnesota DNR aquatic plant management permits were being issued within our reservation borders without our knowledge. From 2016 to 2021, the Minnesota DNR issued 17 pesticide permits in areas where wild rice was present. One permit on McCraney Lake allowed mechanical and chemical removal of aquatic plants so the lakeshore owner could achieve a picture-perfect lakefront. The first plant listed on this was wild rice. For years, White Earth has been working to restore monomen on that lake. That single permit undermined those efforts and threatened the ecology of the entire lake. After the pesticide application occurred on McCraney Lake, wild rice beds that have been painstakingly restored were decimated. Since then, we've been working collaboratively with Minnesota DNR, and chemical removal is no longer allowed within our borders. That progress is important. But monomen doesn't stop at reservation boundaries. Across Minnesota, it still faces threats from chemicals, shoreline pressures, and decisions that are driven by aesthetics rather than ecology. Manipulating a lakeshore to gain a different view or having a swimming beach is a want. Wild rice is a necessity. For the Ojibwe people, it is a sacred gift and a foundation of our culture. Senate File 3915 ensures that wild rice will be protected from non-essential use of pesticides in wild rice waters. Wild rice waters do not end at reservation boundaries, and the progress that we have made on our reservation needs to be extended throughout the state. This bill prioritizes water, habitat, and cultural responsibility over short-term convenience. I urge your full support for SF 3915. Miigwech for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roy. Mr. White, if you would, please. Full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Steve White, District 2 Representative for the band, Leech Lake. Bonjour, Chair Putnam, and members of the Senate Agricultural, Veterans, Broadband, and Rural Development Community. I am Steve White. I serve as the elected council of the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe, representing District 2. I am here on behalf of Leech Lake Band, and I am proud to live on the Leech Lake Reservation where the best wild rice in the state is harvested. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and support Senate File 3915 and the broader effort to protect wild rice waters in Minnesota. Wild rice, or monomen, is a natural resource for our people. It is central to our identity, our treaty rights, and our ways of life. It is sacred food that has sustained our communities for generations and remains vital to our culture, health, and economic today. I also wanted the Agriculture Committee to understand that in addition to the culture importance to band members, and many families rely on wild rice as a subsistence income every single year. In 2024, which was a down year, the Leech Lake Band purchased 142,000 pounds of green rice from harvesters that are processed at the local wild rice facility in Cass Lake. This last season, harvesters' figures were more than double that. The band purchased almost 300,000 pounds of green rice, putting $1.5 million into our local economy and hardworking families in our community. However, wild rice is extremely sensitive to environmental changes, particularly to water quality and chemical exposures. Pesticides, drift, and runoff pose real and growing risk to the waters where the rice grows. Once these waters are damaged, restoration is difficult and in some cases impossible. Senate File 3915 represents a meaningful step towards by modifying pesticides provisions or better protect the wild rice waters. This bill recognizes both the ecological importance of these ecosystems and the cultural responsibilities we carry to protect them. This is about preservation that is far more efficient and far less costly to protect these waters now than to attempt to repair them later. We appreciate the committee's leadership on this issue and respectfully urge your support for File 3915 related efforts and safeguards of wild rice for future generations. Miigwech for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. White. Next, we should hear from Ms. Peltier. If you could please come to the desk. And also Mr. Mulholland, if you would please. Do we not have Gina Peltier?
No, she's not here today. Sorry about that.
No. Thank you, Senator Kunesh. So we'll begin with Mr. Rhodes, if we could, who is remote. So, Mr. Rhodes, if you would please turn on your camera, unmute your microphone, state your full name for the record, and commence your testimony when you're ready, please.
Good afternoon, Chair Putnam and members of the committee. Lucas Rhodes for NRDC Action Fund in support of this bill. The Minnesota Department of Agriculture's 2024 Water Quality Monitoring Survey detected 81 pesticides in Minnesota surface waters, many of which are linked with health harms from cancer to hormone disruption to developmental harms. Today, I want to highlight one class of these pesticides called neonics. So neonics are neurotoxic insecticides used on more than 11 million acres across Minnesota. MDA has detected clothianidin, which is just one of those neonics, in 80% of surface water samples statewide. Beyond water, CDC research has found neonics in the bodies of about half of Americans, and more recent research has found them in the bodies of 95% of pregnant women nationwide. Children are the most at risk from neonic exposure. Studies link prenatal exposure with higher rates of birth defects in the heart brain, autism spectrum disorder, and cognitive impairment. Studies in rodents suggest there may be no safe level of exposure. Now, I highlight neonics today for two reasons. First, neonics are designed to be absorbed by plants, meaning contamination of wild rice waters is almost certainly leading to absorption by those wild rice plants that are later eaten by people. Second, the vast majority of neonic contamination is preventable. Neonic contamination largely stems from coatings on corn and soybean seeds that have been shown not to produce economic benefits to farmers. Other contamination stems from needless lawn and garden uses. Minnesota must start taking pesticide contamination of waters seriously and act to limit their unnecessary use. This bill takes very reasonable steps to ensure that economically and culturally significant wild rice waters receive special attention. So for this reason, we urge members of the committee to support this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Mr. Mulholland, if you would please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Putnam, Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Evan Mulholland. I'm an attorney with the Minnesota Center for Environmental Advocacy. We're a nonprofit organization that for 50 years has been using law and science to protect Minnesota's environment and the health of its people. We support this bill, SF 3915. We submitted written testimony, so I'll just be very brief. MCA and myself participates in the Rise and Repair Alliance for Indigenous Rights and Climate Justice, and this alliance supports this bill and continues to advocate for the protection of wild rice. These pesticides and herbicides that we're talking about are toxic to this plant and to the ecosystems that wild rice relies on, and that we all rely on, frankly. This bill is a modest step towards a world where wild rice is not harmed by these pesticides and herbicides. It's a step in the right direction, and we at MCA and all of us here behind me urge you to support this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mulholland. And Senator Kunesh, thank you for having testifiers who were efficient with their testimony. Very much appreciated. Efficient and knowledgeable. It was a great combination. Members, questions or comments for the author or her testifiers? Senator Dames.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Kunesh, can you tell me how far would we go downstream or upstream from tribal land for testing to see if these chemicals are in the water? How many miles would we be going downstream from the borders of the tribal lands, upstream or whichever it may be?
Senator Kunesh.
Sure. Senator, I don't have that exact distance that would be done, but I'm going to say that if there is a detection of these pesticides that are impacting the environment, and it's not just wild rice, I mean, this could be for cultivated wild rice. If you remember, there are plenty of businesses here in Minnesota that have genetically adapted or changed wild rice, and those are, oftentimes not even considered wild rice anymore. They're kind of an aquatic seed grass. But upon detection, and I think it would make sense that the commissioner use their expertise and their best practices to make those the investigation or the monitoring of those waters so that there is not an impact on the wild rice. And so, again, I guess I would say I would task the commissioner with using their best practices.
Senator Dames.
Follow up, Mr. Chair. Well, thank you, Senator Kunesh. I just question about really this open of a bill that we don't know how far we might go out and test waters, and I guess I'm a little concerned about the bill in a lot of the areas that it's pretty open and leaving it pretty open to people that make decisions that we may or may not agree with. So thank you for your answer. I appreciate it.
Senator Kupek. Oh, never mind. Senator Westrom. He changed his mind. He's scared of you. He's intimidated.
So, Mr. Chair, Senator, I'm just trying to figure out what are we fully doing here? What are we banning? Can you give us some names of chemicals, or what is it that you're? It seems kind of overbroad, as Senator Dames just talked about, and I'm just trying to wrap my arms more around this as I read it through it, and I wasn't really able to discern that from the testimony. Specifically, what are we going to do? And I'll let you answer that, and then I have a follow-up.
Senator Kunesh.
Sure. So what this bill does is that it adds a subdivision to the powers and the duty of the commissioner to allow enforcement action under Chapter 18D for violations resulting in adverse effects to wild rice water. But it also adds the definition of wild rice water to the pesticide control chapter. And then it modifies the section relating to pesticide impact on environment to require the consideration of impacts on wild rice water and require cooperation with, especially with the Minnesota tribal governments. It adds wild rice waters to the considerations for pesticide management plan, excuse me, and requires the commissioner to coordinate with, again, with the Minnesota tribal governments, and then submit a report, a status report on the plan to the Minnesota Indian Affairs Council. And then last, two more things. It requires the state to take particular care to ensure that pesticides stay out of wild rice waters in its own pesticide use on public lands. And, excuse me again, adds protection of wild rice waters to the concerns that must be addressed in pesticide education and training programs. And again, including Minnesota tribal governments in those educational planning committees.
And so,
Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, can you give us a list of some of the things you're trying to ban, or what are we trying to solve here? Do we know that there's a problem that's going on, and that's what you're trying to get? I'm just puzzled here, struggling to kind of get a focus on what is it we're going. What is this going to accomplish, and what's the problem that's out there right now that you're saying that we would be solving?
Senator Kunesh.
Well, I think if you had listened very carefully and closely to all of the testifiers, it was very clear that these pesticides are having an adverse effect on wild rice lands. And as I mentioned, wild rice harvest preservation in the Great Lakes region in northern Minnesota has declined 5 to 7% annually, and could very well get to the point where it is an endangered species. But if you're looking for a definition of pesticide, pesticide means a substance or mixture of substances intended to prevent, destroy, repel, mitigate a pest, and a substance or mixture of substances intended for use as a plant regulator, defoliant, and desiccant. And that is in 18B.01.
Senator Westrom.
So, Mr. Chair, Senator Kunesh, is desiccant basically the pesticide you're concerned about? Is that what we're really focused on here?
Senator Kunesh.
Or is there some others too?
Senator Kunesh.
I mean, I can't list off a specific pesticide. If you're looking for brand names or substance names, I can get that for you eventually. But any one of those toxins that are going to either kill or modify or do damage to the wild rice and its waters would be what we are most concerned with.
And Mr. Chair, and Senator Kunesh, maybe we can talk further about this. It's going to get laid over, but I guess this broad discussion is what I'm concerned about, overarching. This is kind of hard, very, very broad language, and you mentioned 5 to 7% reduction, did you say each year, in wild rice? What are the pesticides that you're contributing that reduction of 5 to 7% of the harvest to? Is it just desiccant, or is it Roundup, or is it Pursuit? Is it, I guess I'd be interested to know that, just so we kind of know where we're going with this, or what the real problem is in the testing that has been done at White Earth and other places where they're growing this, without just passing on broad language that we don't know what we're trying to achieve.
Senator Kunesh.
Well, I think again, we heard quite a bit from our testifiers, and one of them mentioned the neonicotinoids that have an adverse effect on the wild rice. But it's also important to know that the department already has control over the pesticides, and again, using their expertise and their best judgment, they would be the ones that would be able to ascertain what is the effect, and if they're finding those in the waters, where is it coming from? And so, I mean, we are not here to create a specific plan, but to use the department and their expertise in the way that we expect them to.
Senator Westrom.
So, Mr. Chair, I guess I would be interested if there's any other groups, agriculture-related, or any other groups that have concerns about this. Typically, our crop farmers have raised some good, valid points, and so I don't know why they're not testifying today. I'll take that as they don't have any concerns, but I'm not sure that's the correct interpretation, and so I'd be concerned to take any action, but it doesn't sound like we are. So I just raise these concerns for the record, and those different groups that everybody takes a close look at this, because it seems like very broad language, Senator Kunesh, and if there's a specific problem now that we know is getting into these, then that's, I think, what we should be targeting, rather than just, this kind of looks like just give the department an open-ended directive to just go out and see what you can find, and we don't know if it's a mile from the reservations we're going to be testing, or on the reservations, or 100 miles on. And that's just what's given me trouble figuring out what is the problem at hand, or are we just passing legislation in search of a problem?
Thanks for your clarification in your line of inquiry, Senator Westrom. There are 2 letters in our packet, one from the Minnesota Farm Bureau Federation and another from the crop retailers that express reservations in opposition to this. But we had no one who asked to actually testify on this behalf. Senator Kunesh, did you like to respond to Senator Westrom's last point?
Only that because they're not here to testify, or somebody is not here to testify, does not mean that, you know, that they're in opposition or whatever the case may be. I don't think you can assume those sort of things in any of this. I would guess that if we were finding issues with potato fields up north, they would be here asking for this kind of support. If, you know, there was, I mean, we hear all the time about how chemical drift and all sorts of things are affecting different plants and different agricultural issues. I don't know why you would be in opposition of any kind of investigation or monitoring or protecting an ancient wild grain such as wild rice. And it isn't just grown on reservation lands. We've got all those cultivated rice paddies up north. You know, maybe they would be concerned about this if they even knew about it. Who knows if they even know about it? So just because this is a wild rice situation, we hear these requests all the time, and I think it's really important that we address this before it's too late.
Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, Senator Kunesh, so are you asserting that MDA is saying they don't have any regulatory authority to investigate current issues with wild rice? Is that the nub of the issue here? And is MDA here to, I find it hard to believe that we're in 2026 and as much statutory authority as the MDA has that we would have an oversight and they can't identify issues concerning wild rice. Is that your position, what you're telling us?
Senator Kunesh?
What I'm telling you is that if they haven't been doing that, and it doesn't appear that they have been, that we require them to look for it. If they are not doing it now, sort of to use one of your favorite phrases, you know, they're not going to go looking for a problem to a solution. And so what we are saying, we would like you to be more proactive and be more considerate of this and be a little bit more alert to the situation. But it's also important that they are working with the tribal communities and not working over them or around them.
Senator Westrom and Senator Kunesh, I think that our friends at MDA might have an opinion that they can share as well, perhaps to bring some light to.
Okay, why don't we do that, Mr.
discussion.
Chair, and that might just be a good place to end.
That sounds great. Thank you, Senator Westrom. Welcome to the committee again. If you would please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Mr. Chair, Senators, my name is Joshua Stamper. I'm the Division Director of the Pesticide and Fertilizer Management Division in the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. We are aware of these many issues. The MDA has the sole terrestrial responsibility for the regulation of all agricultural chemicals. We do currently monitor, and we have monitored wild rice water since 1991. We currently monitor 58 different river locations that are wild rice producing waters, 150 lake locations that are wild rice waters, 12 wetland locations from watersheds that contain wild rice. So we do monitor surface water in wild rice production areas. We do not find a lot of exceedances of aquatic life benchmarks for these products, specifically because many of these areas are not in heavy agricultural production areas. That being said, I am sure that there are exceedances just because we can't be everywhere in all these different locations. We do work in close consultation with Minnesota's sovereign tribes. The agency respects that, and I think one of the challenges that we want to work with the author on this is addressing this through consultation, identifying where there are issues where we can provide assistance, but also recognizing that on reservation and in Indian country, state law carries no weight.
Thank you, Mr. Stamper. Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, thank you, MDA. And I think you said it at the end, but this doesn't apply on the reservations. Is that correct? You don't go on the reservations and test, or do you?
Mr. Stamper.
We do not. Currently, I believe White Earth has a cooperative agreement with the EPA, and they have their own EPA credentialed pesticide inspectors. We work with those folks. You heard Director Roy talk about that. We got to work with Dustin for many years when he started out as a pesticide inspector. We want to be supportive, but recognizing that tribes have their own independent autonomy, and they are sovereign nations.
So Senator Kunesh, can I assume that the testifiers from White Earth and other reservations are doing this already, and then it's the states that's got to catch up? Is that what we're trying to do here? Because it sounds like we are monitoring this, the MDA, but are the reservations also doing this already?
Senator Kunesh, if you could quickly, please.
Yep,
Just
they-
as a reminder to members, we're laying this over, so I'm going to ask us to expedite a little bit. So Senator Kunesh, if you could.
Sure. A lot of the rice is in treaty areas off-site of the reservations, and there have been reports of the state spraying glyphosate on off of reservation land to kill wild rice intentionally. But if you look on line 3.115 in the bill, we are asking that the state take particular care. So we want them to be really attentive and proactive to ensure that pesticides do not flow into wild rice water. If there's this happening not in wild rice water, but they know that it's happening and it will flow into those lakes and those streams and those paddies, then we want them to make sure that that's taken care of.
Thank you, Senator Kunesh. Senator Westrom, we good? Thanks. Senator Dames.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and there's no question here, just a comment. It seems kind of interesting when I listened to the testimony and listened to the questions that Senator Westrom had and the answers that we did or did not receive. Seems like it's kind of interesting that we're out pursuing something, but we don't know, when we're asked what it is, we don't know what it is we're pursuing. We have a general topic of pesticides, but we have no clue what pesticides we're pursuing, and I think that's very interesting. I think this is just a very overly broad bill. Thank you.
Senator Kunesh?
No.
If you could just very briefly, Madam, you're welcome to come up and state your full name for the record, but just very briefly, if you could, please.
I'm sorry, sir. I just came down on a whim. My name is Jean Skinaway, Indigenous Cause, from Sandy Lake, Aiken County, the chairwoman for the Sandy Lake Band in Mississippi Chippewa. We are a small band. We're a non federally recognized tribe, but we are a small band in Aiken County. We are pretty much the rice basket. We have so many rice lakes in our area, and we are surrounded by what do you call those? By state land. We have so much state land around us, so we have to work with the state DNR, and we have our main, we have the Rice Lake Wildlife Refuge. So that's a federal area, but the Solana the Solana State Forest is what feeds that lake. And I can't remember, but that lake dried up, like within the last 5 years. It dried up at least 3 times, so we could not rice that lake. That lake is one of the most abundant in what we rely on as a back source for our rice. I don't want to take too much time, but so one year I went to look at that life source, for our water, and going into that Solana State Forest entrance to look at that life source for the water, I came upon, the posting, that said that it was being, and it was, weather worn and stuff like that, but it was posted that it was being sprayed, for the pesticides and stuff. So, and I was trying to look through my phone at the picture and stuff, but, and I'm kind of surprised that the Mille Lacs Band was not here to testify on that, but, that's the problem with us, is we're not federally recognized to be able to bring this to the attention, that we have to rely on other tribes to bring that. But I'm bringing that forward today, is that we have to, and I did let our state representative Igo know about that several times, or Ego, I don't remember his name, but to let him know on that is we, that's our life source, We need to protect this monument, and that's something that is really critical for us. It's something that we take very seriously at Sandy Lake. We have so many people that come from all over, to rice our lakes. All right, miigwech.
Thank you very much for sharing your testimony, and all the folks who are here to advocate on this issue. I appreciate that you're here. One of the things you might notice is it's our job to ask questions. We ask questions, and then we work to answer them. And so I appreciate you being here and participating in the conversation. It's a conversation that will continue. Senator Kunesh, do you have any closing statements?
No, just other than it is our responsibility as legislators and as Minnesotans and as stewards of this beautiful world that the Creator gave us to protect what he or she has provided us and ensure that we are leaving it in good shape for the next seven generations. And this bill is just one step towards that.
Thank you, Senator Kunesh. Members, Senate File 3915 will be laid over for possible inclusion. Senator Kunesh, Senate File 3226, Wolf-livestock conflict preservation grants appropriation.
Great.
We have Ms. Fritz and Mr. Stoffren, if you would please come up to the table and take your seat.
Mr. Chair, I have the A2 amendment.
Senator Kunesh moves the A2 amendment. Senator Kunesh, to your amendment.
This just deletes some information and updates the statutes and chapter.
Senator Kunesh, don't take it personally, but everybody's leaving. I just don't want it to hurt your feelings and to give you a chance to say goodbye. Thanks for coming, everybody. We do appreciate your presence.
I think that's an indication of what a value wild rice is to these people. Yep.
Well played.
Yep, they came from far and wide.
Thank you. Members, any questions to the A2 amendment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? The A2 amendment is adopted. Senator Kunesh to 3226, the underlying bill as amended, if you would please.
Okay, so the purpose of this bill is to provide funding for non-lethal ways to prevent wolves from preying on livestock in Minnesota. We've been hearing about this issue in this committee for a long time. This funding will protect both the livestock and the wolves. The Wolf-livestock conflict prevention grant is offered by the Minnesota Department of Agriculture to help farmers protect livestock deprivation by wolves by funding projects such as purchasing of guard animals, veterinary costs for those guard animals, wolf barriers that might include pens, fladry, which are flags that go on top of the fence to deter wolves from crossing, and fencing, wolf deterring lights and alarms, calving or lambing shelters, chicken and other animal shelters. And so this bill is asking for support and an appropriation towards the wolf-livestock conflict prevention.
Thank you, Senator Kunesh. To your testifiers now, if we could, please. Ms. Fritz, your full name and state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name's Jill Fritz. I'm a Minnesota resident and Senior Managing Director for Wildlife Protection at Humane World for Animals. We support Senate File 3226 to appropriate funds for this wolf-livestock conflict prevention grant. Thank you to Senator Kunesh for this crucial measure, and to the Minnesota farmers who seek out ways to coexist with wolves in our state. These grants assist livestock owners in wolf range with implementing those non-lethal techniques that Senator Kunesh mentioned. Research and empirical evidence find that those methods are much more effective at protecting livestock than killing wolves. For instance, a large cattle ranch in south of Voyageurs National Park had experienced multiple conflicts because it's within the territory of 5 active wolf family packs. But since the completion of a fence around the property by the U of M's Voyageurs Wolf Project, in 2023, that farm has not had a single wolf conflict. Wolves have tremendous social and ecological value to our state and are strongly supported by Minnesotans. In the Great Lakes region, studies find that wolves benefit forest regeneration and the forest industry by regulating deer browse, and they have even reduced deer-car collisions by as much as 24%. So for those reasons, we support Senate File 3226. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Francis. Mr. Stoffern, if you would please state your full name for the record. Commence testimony when we're ready.
Thank you, Chair Putnam and committee members. My name is Justin Stoufferon with Minnesota Farmers Union, or if you squint, like a clean-shaven Stu Laurie. I appreciate the opportunity to share MFU's support for Senator Kunesh's bill to ensure adequate funding for the Wolf-livestock conflict prevention grant program at MDA. You'll hear a little more about this from my colleague Peter Ripka on the other bill, but lost livestock takes a significant financial toll on farmers. For the many small livestock producers who pasture in the northern part of Minnesota, the death of even one animal can be a significant loss. I wanted to share a little bit from one of our members, Hannah Bernhardt, who I think has been before the committee before and couldn't make it today, but she raises livestock on 160 acres in Pine County, a high wolf kill area of the state according to DNR. Hannah has used livestock guardian dogs, and in 7 years of raising livestock, she has yet to experience depredation from wolves or any other predator. And this is while lambing and calving out in the open in pasture. When Hannah has talked to other producers about livestock guardian dogs, costs are often the barrier she hears about, particularly veterinary costs, and that's something she's used this grant program for. And so this is an opportunity to help address those challenges, to look at preventing this loss from happening in the first place. And so thank you to Senator Kunesh for your leadership on this and for the opportunity to share some thoughts with the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Stoufferon. Members, questions or comments for the author or her testifiers? Senator Dames.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Kunesh. So that I'm clear on this, if an applicant puts in a request for a grant, the applicant pays 20%, so the grant of the 100%, the grant would be 80%, is that correct?
Senator Kunesh.
Yes, sir.
So do you have any idea, and I don't, but do you have any idea what it would cost to go, say, like to put a fence around, say, 80 acres, what that might cost? I mean, we're looking at $45,000 appropriation. Is there a maximum that an applicant could get?
Senator Kunesh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Dames, I don't know how much it costs to put a fence around, and I would probably be arbitrary to the farmer to decide what kind of a fence and how much of that they actually needed to fence in. If you feel like $45,000 isn't enough, I'd be happy to raise it.
Well, that would be an option. Obviously, there are other options too, but I'm just curious. I just was really curious of what percent the grantee would get and what percent would come out of the 45,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Dames. Senator Holstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I had a similar concern. I did some preliminary research here, and I tried to find out what the U of M used in the study that was referenced, and it seems like what's recommended, the standard for wolf-proof fencing is dig-proof and 8-foot tall fencing, which would run around $40 a foot. At $45,000, it gets you about 1,200 feet, which is enough for about an acre and a half. Even if the farmer is eating 80% of that cost, this is not gonna go far enough to help a lot of people. And I really question when there's so limited resources in Minnesota, why this is a priority when we know that the solution that the farmers are asking for is just the ability to defend their livestock the way we always have, which is with lethal means. So I don't find this to be particularly appropriate or a good use of state funds, but you may want to comment on that further. I think it's a fair point.
Well, Senator Holstrom, for context, there are PROTECT grants throughout the state of Minnesota through MDA already, and there have been a number of programs specifically for other varieties of non-lethal deterrents, like as Senator Kunesh mentioned, buying a donkey. And I found out recently, a couple of years ago, that we had these programs that would enable someone to buy a donkey because it scares away wolves. But apparently, bison hate donkeys more than wolves. So bison would just pick on the donkey. Which is a complexity to the issue, which I think is actually kind of charming and funny. But I'm trying to suggest that there is a context for this prior existing program that has been successful in some ways. Senator Kunesh, do you have further context to provide?
Sure, and fencing is not the only solution or possible effort to do this. I listed a whole bunch of other things here that would be available. And so in conjunction with some of these other opportunities, this is just another effort to ensure that farmers have different protections and different options when they are doing the best to protect their livestock.
Thank you, Senator Kunesh. This bill would be laid over. Anything further?
I do have follow-ups, yeah.
Senator Holstrom.
So, Senator Kunesh, do you know the number of livestock that we lose every year to wolf attacks?
Senator Kunesh.
Let's see here. So wolf attacks in Minnesota livestock and pets fell sharply in 2025, marking a return to normal for the state. The federal trappers received a total of 185 complaints about wolf encounters. This is down from a record 252 calls in 2024. There were verified kills fell from 166 to 121, and this latest report comes as lawmakers continue efforts to remove federal protections for those predators. So in spite of that, we are making some really good ground in this effort.
Senator Holstrom.
Thank you. And we have a fund in Minnesota dedicated to refunding farmers who have damages from wolves. It's my understanding that is usually runs out of money early. Is that the case this year as well?
Senator Kunesh, and I will say as well, Senator Holmstrom, we're going to talk about those right after Senator Kunesh is done. Senator Rarick there is just waiting, champing at the bit to get his chance to talk about exactly what you're talking about.
And from what I remember, every single year, yes, with that money runs out quickly. So we're just trying to use a multifaceted approach to keeping our farmers whole and keeping their livestock safe.
So, Senator Holmstrom, actually, if you have a very long line of inquiry, you can keep asking questions just because it's going to irritate Senator Rarick. So feel free to continue if you like.
I'll save my hostile questions for Senator Rarick.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, Senator Kunesh, is reestablishing a wolf hunt also one of those options that we should use to help control the overpopulation of wolves right now that are affecting our farmers?
Senator Kunesh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That is certainly a consideration, but it is not under this bill.
Senator Westrom.
Senator Kunesh, would that be something you'd also support as broad options?
Senator Kunesh.
If you would just explain that a little bit more by what you mean by that exactly.
Senator Westrom.
It's pretty broad.
Just reestablishing a wolf hunt back in Minnesota that, we'd kill off some of the wolves that are overpopulating and running over
Well, I would lean
the northern woods.
Senator Kunesh.
I think we need to look at what season that would be in, how many would be allowed, what kind of weaponry would be allowed, all of those things. So I guess I would need to know a lot more information before making any kind of decision like that.
Senator Westrom.
Well, Mr. Chair, maybe a longer conversation for another day, but I think it would usually use a gun to shoot them. But anyways, I think that's another option. We just need to face reality, and it's good to have this bill in front of us because it highlights one of the big problems mostly our northern half of the state is facing with the wolf deprivation. That's an ongoing problem and getting worse.
Thank you, Senator Westrom. Senator Kunesh, do you have any closing statements?
Nope, just ask for support for Senate File 3226.
Thank you, Senator Kunesh. Senate File 3226, as amended, will be laid over for possible inclusion. Up next, Senator Rarick will be doing double duty, discussing kind of the sort of deeper issues and overlapping concerns between Senate File 4099 and Senate File 3949. I'm assuming, Senator Rarick, that you're here to do both bills because you are more important than Senator Johnson, not because he's more important than you doing other stuff.
I'm lower on the totem pole, Mr. Chair. He's out somewhere else, so I'm stuck here.
Ms. Root and Mr. Kushel, if you would please come up. Oh, he's remote, okay. He doesn't. Although I will take slight objection to your suggestion that anything is more important than the Ag Committee, Senator Rarick. But please, to your bill when you're ready, my friend.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, the two bills in front of us today are looking at addressing the issue of the lack of funds in the wolf depredation account. As was stated in the previous bill, we do have this account. There's actually two. One is for wolf depredation and one is for elk depredation. The wolf depredation is in regards to livestock that is lost due to wolves, and the elk is due to fencing and crops that are destroyed due to the elk. One of the issues, the projections from Department of Ag, I believe, are about a shortfall of $210,000 in the wolf depredation fund. But one of the things that I will talk, it was also brought up, what are the numbers of claims that happen, especially in the wolf claim area. And when you talk to farmers, many of them will tell you it is, if the calf is completely taken and they never find it, there's no way to file a claim because you have no proof that it was wolf depredation. So I still believe even these amounts are low for what farmers' losses actually are when it comes to wolf depredation. So, but I could go on this one for quite a while. Fairly passionate about it. I know it was mentioned earlier as well that it's northern Minnesota that has the issues with the wolves. If you remember Representative Dan Fabian, who lived up in Senator Johnson's district, he was a House member from there, he would very often complain when people said, northern Minnesota, and even if they were talking about Brainerd. If you divide the state into thirds, even Brainerd's not in northern Minnesota. And as was stated earlier, my county of Pine County and also Carleton County, which would be in central Minnesota, very close to the Twin Cities metro area, are two counties with some of the highest wolf counts out there, where farmers are having these problems. So it's not just northern Minnesota. And if we do talk to federal trappers who are out there, the wolves are right on the doorstep of the Twin Cities metro area. And so I think this is a bigger issue that other discussions should be had, but the bills in front of us today are to help the farmers who are losing livestock and are losing crops to the wolf and the elk.
Thank you, Senator Rarick. Just so you're aware, apparently Senator Johnson did not trust you to do this because he just got here. But we are doing both bills at the same time, Senator Johnson. You're welcome to come to the table if you like. Yeah. Now let's turn to testifiers, if we could. Ms. Root, if you would please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Putnam and committee members. My name is Caitlin Root, and I'm the Executive Director for the Minnesota State Cattlemen's Association. The Cattlemen's Association represents around 1,000 members, and our mission is to create and maintain an economic and political climate that provides individual members the opportunity to sustain and grow the cattle industry in Minnesota. I'm here today to testify in support of Senate File 4099 and Senate File 3949 to add additional funding to the wolf and elk depredation funds. Wolf predation on calves continues to impact central and northern Minnesota cattle producers, while elk depredation creates significant crop, feed, and infrastructure losses for some northwestern producers. Producers impacted by this depredation deserve a compensation system that is timely, reliable, and fully funded. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources estimates there are more than 2,900 wolves in the state of Minnesota. This number is more than any other state in the lower 48. Cow-calf operations account for the majority of wolf-related incidents in this state. It is important to remember that wolf activity causes stress on the entire herd, affecting herd health and productivity. And stress during breeding season can directly impact conception rates. After a predation event, cattle may even change how they use pasture, overgrazing the areas they feel are safe. So much more goes into the effects of wolf depredation than just the actual physical loss of a calf. Elk depredation presents similar challenges. Farmers and ranchers face crop losses, stored hay and feed losses, and fence destruction. All of these issues are leading to frustrations with recurring damage and tension around wildlife damage. Elk depredation isn't just about lost crops. There's a greater impact on the operations. The Minnesota Department of Agriculture continues to exhaust available funding for elk-related fence and crop destruction, as well as wolf depredation claims. The delay in payments to producers shifts the financial burden directly onto farm families. When the funds run dry, producers are left waiting. That uncertainty adds financial stress to these operations. This bill provides a practical solution by strengthening the depredation accounts so that verified claims can be paid fully and promptly. Minnesota's cattle producers are committed to being good stewards of the land and coexisting with wildlife. Increasing funding for wolf and elk depredation programs is a common sense step that protects family farms, rural economies, and the stability of our food supply. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Ripka, if you would please. Great to see you again. If you would please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Putnam and committee members. My name is Peter Ripka. I farm near Ogilvie, Minnesota, which is in the far southern Kanabec County. I appreciate the opportunity to testify today in support of Leader Johnson's bill here to ensure adequate funding for the wolf and elk depredation account. For those farmers that lose livestock, particularly small producers, it has a great impact and is devastating to their operation. This is particularly true given the prices of beef today, which are a bright spot in Minnesota's agriculture. For those in pasture on northern and central Minnesota, this can be particularly, even one calf can cause great, on economic of that farm, especially on the small producers. It's also worth noting that our experience, that process of verifying claims is very extensive and often inconclusive. I know I'm repetitive on some of the testimony, but sorry. Given this fund has already been overburdened, and I believe they're out for this year already, we definitely need the funding for this bill. Again, I want to thank Leader Johnson for sponsoring the bill and hope this program will continue to benefit and support of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Repko. And then we have online, Mr. Crucial, if you would please unmute your microphone, turn on your camera, state your full name for the record, and commence your testimony when you're ready. And it's good to see you too.
Thank you, Chair Putnam. Chair Putnam and members of the committee, my name is Miles Cushel, and I'm a third-generation beef rancher from Cass County. I also serve on the board of directors for the Minnesota Farm Bureau, representing northeastern Minnesota. On behalf of the 30,000 Farm Bureau family, farm, and ranch members across the state, thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of Senate Files 4099 and 3949. For those of us who raise cattle, depredation is a personal issue. When wolves kill livestock or when elk damage fence, forage, or feed, those losses hit our operations directly. It's not just the value of the animal or the vet bill. It's lost time, stress on our families, disruption to our herds, and another financial hit in an already difficult farm economy. Minnesota is home to roughly 2,700 wolves, which is nearly half the current wolf population of the lower 48 states. That number is significant because for a second year in a row, funding for depredation programs was exhausted before the end of the fiscal year. The current funding level has not kept up with what is happening on the ground. Ranchers and farmers should not be left waiting on compensation after losing livestock, crops, or fencing because the account continues to run short. These programs exist because the state recognizes that when farmers and ranchers are expected to bear the cost of wildlife damage, there needs to be a fair and dependable way to compensate them. That is exactly what these bills help to do. Thank you to Senator Rarick and Senator Johnson for bringing these bills forward, and I'd like to thank you, Mr. Chair, for including increased funding for this program in the committee's budget the past several years. I urge the committee to support this legislation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Members, any questions, comments for the testifiers? Senator Holstrom looks like he's going to make good on his promise to come at you. So, Senator Holstrom, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to clarify two things that were said. I believe that Ms. Fritz, you had stated that Minnesota has more wolves in per capita, or more wolves in the lower than any other state in the lower 48. Is that correct?
Mr. Kushel
Ms.
did
Root.
say. Oh, sorry. Yes, I have heard that,
Oh, Brett, I'm sorry.
and I believe that is true. Yes.
Senator Holstrom.
Okay, and I did a quick research on it, and I was blown away because obviously with Hawaii doesn't have a lot of wolves, which means Alaska is the target there, and they have 4 times more wolves than us, despite being 8 times our size, which means Minnesota has the densest wolf population in the state or in the country. That's concerning. And then I wanted to confirm something else that was said, which is apparently as of April 8th, we're out of money in this fund. Is that correct?
Senator Rarick.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Actually, the account went to zero, I believe, before the end of February.
Senator Holmstrom.
Wow, that's frustrating because we have damages, and we have damages as a result of decisions that were made in this legislature. We have the densest wolf population by choice. We're putting our cattlemen and our agriculture industry at risk by choice. And I just want to harken back. A $45,000 appropriation for fencing is not going to solve this problem. So I guess I support this bill, but I want to make the point that we just can't keep throwing money at this problem. We have the solution. We've known the solution for centuries, for millennia. Let's handle this the correct way, but I will support this bill today. And of course, Mr. Johnson's bill as well.
Members, any other questions? Senator Kunesh.
Thank you. So my question is around the accountability factor. So when a farmer makes a claim or a rancher makes a claim and they say a wolf downed my fence or damaged some of my crops, how is that ascertained that that is actual wolf damage?
Senator Rarick.
Mr. Chair, Senator Kunesh, especially when it comes to like calf kills, it is a conservation officer from the DNR who was called out to investigate with the farmer to look at and that's what I was saying, if the carcass remains, they can look at that and try to determine if it was a wolf kill. The problem is if there is nothing left, if the entire calf is taken, there's zero way to prove. When it comes to crop damage, fence damage, once again, it would be most often it is the conservation officer that comes out, and then you would look at the tracks that are there where the crops are damaged or the fence is destroyed to determine if it was an elk that had come through and done the damage.
Senator Kunesh.
Thank you. That's all I was wondering.
Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, I guess to either Senator Rarick or Senator Johnson, could we use some of this money to buy shotgun shells to help mitigate this issue?
Senator Rarick.
That's an interesting question. I don't know if that's
So, Mr. Chair, and maybe not, maybe it's a friendly amendment we could look at. And then if we did that and imposed the Bill Clinton policy, don't ask, don't tell, I wonder if we could get some of this solved quicker than we have been able to in the past. And just an idea I'm throwing out there as we generate good ideas here in committee.
Senator Westrom, I appreciate your acknowledgement of how free-flowing we are with ideas in this particular committee. I'm not sure that I would want to encourage committing crimes necessarily in this space, but I will add also that my understanding is that a wolf hunt would require some kind of federal action as well. So it's moot at this point at the state level. But Senator Rarick, do you have an answer to Senator Westrom's hypothetical suggestion?
Thank you, Mr.
I say as his attorney.
You are correct. Currently, right now, the gray wolf is a federally protected animal in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan. There have been efforts to try to delist the wolf. And if that were to happen, the DNR does have a plan in place. There was, I know 1 year for sure, I thought maybe there were 2 years where a wolf hunt was done. Was it the middle 90s, if I remember right? Anyway, the DNR does have a strategy in place. If the wolf were to be delisted, it would probably be, there would be a certain number of wolves that would be harvested by trapping, and another number that would be done through firearms, which would typically be done by deer hunters while they're out in the woods hunting deer as well. The last time around when it happened, they set up a quota of 400 for each method. And I know on the very first weekend of the deer hunting, they were close to their quota and they shut it down. So they do monitor that very closely. So there's a process out there, but Mr. Chair, you are correct. It is a federal issue at this point. The state cannot authorize the harvesting of wolves. It is the only method of that right now is bringing in the federal trappers, and that happens through the DNR and with requests from local farmers and citizens.
Senator Westrom, we have to leave the room. We're going to get kicked out, so if we do this one pretty quick.
Very good. It's quick. But so just to the hunt, Senator Rarick, you seem to be probably more up on it. But is there any other state that has a hunt, and what could Minnesota do to request a action by the federal government? Wouldn't that help getting more attention to this? Because I believe there might be a wolf hunt in some other states, or are we the only state that would be requesting it and nobody else gets a hunt?
Senator Rarick.
Mr. Chair, right now I believe Montana and Wyoming, the wolf is delisted there, and they do have hunts available there. There is a process in place at the federal level for the wolf to be delisted in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan currently.
Thanks much, Senator Rarick, and Senator Johnson for looming in the background. Senate File 4099 and Senate File will be laid over for possible inclusion. Senate File 3949 will also be laid over for possible inclusion. Thanks for your time, everyone. Very quickly, just so you know, this is what's coming at us on Monday. Members, especially those of you who do not also serve on the Veterans Subcommittee, I'm going to ask you to please do some homework and check over the bills that we passed through committee today so that we can move through them expeditiously on Monday. We will need to pass the Vets Omnibus Bill that was just completed today to Finance. We will also move Senate File 3603 to the floor, and then we will pass Senate File 4560 to State Government. That's our plan to deal with the veterans bills on Monday. We will also hear Senate File 4479 about county solar, hear the Minnesota Department of Agriculture Finance Bill, and then also hear a very brief bill about the AURI deficiency that they are accounting. There being no further business for the committee, we are adjourned. Thanks a lot, guys.